We're going to get to narrate this thing because you have a great narrator's voice. Use the face frame sketch that you did to help guide the construction of your face frame. But on here, I'm going to lay out some marks here for my top rail, my bottom rail, and then my middle rail, which is going to go here. So I like to hook a tape measure to the end of it, but if you want to just use a ruler, you can feel free to use a... Oh boy. Thank you. You didn't even hit your head. I'd have hit my head for sure. This is going to be my top, so I'm going to make a mark. Now, how wide is my top rail? 2 inches. Very good. Anybody remember how wide my bottom rail is? The middle rail is 1.5. And I am going to, again, I'm going to move my middle rail to the bottom just to do something different. You guys can do it exactly how it is printed there, or you can move your middle rail to the bottom. There is 4.5 inches of space for my drawer. So no matter where you put your middle rail, make sure that there's 4.5 inches of space there. So I'm at 3. 3 plus 4.5 is 7.5 and 9. All right. So all I did was make tick marks on my board where the measurements are going to go for these. Now I'm going to put these together, and I'm going to walk over here. I want to show you in the tool cabinet where some of these tools are. All of our drills are down here, in the bottom here. There's boatloads of drills. There's probably enough for every 2 people to have 1 drill. You're going to need face frame clamp, looks like this, and a square, looks like an L. Okay, you need these things here, and then a drill. I already brought the drills over, I just didn't bring, oh, sorry, gotcha. I didn't bring these things over. So now I am going to tip this down just a hair. There we go. Now I am going to use my square, and I'm going to transfer these lines that I drew, these tick marks, over, making sure that my 2 boards are lined up. I like doing it this way so I know that everything's exactly where it needs to be, and my boards are even. And a couple pieces of advice here. Notice I didn't draw the lines all the way across, because when I do that, I start confusing which side is inside and which side is out. So the sides with the lines on it are going to be my inside edges. So if you've got any ugly marks, like bark or something like that that you're trying to work around, make sure those sides are in. You don't want them to be on the outside. The outside should be perfect. Okay, now we're going to start putting these babies in here. I'll try to do it backwards so that you guys can see. When we do this, we are going to use glue, about 2 pea-size drops for the big ones, and then about 1 pea-size drop for the little ones. We need to get a drill. We've got 2 different kinds of drills. We've actually got 2 different brands of drills as well. We've got rigid drills and we've got Milwaukee drills, and we've got impact drivers and just your standard drill driver. So the first drill that probably makes the most sense to you guys is a drill that looks like this. It's just got a regular chuck. And when I spin that chuck, there's 3 little teeth that come, and they grab onto whatever I put in there. So I could put anything in there, like a drill bit can go in there, and I tighten the chuck on the drill bit, and now that spins when I pull the trigger. That one's in reverse. Or I could put a square drive bit like this in here, and you can have a shortcut by holding your finger on the chuck and then pulling the trigger, and that will tighten it, and you can use a drill like this. All this drill does is spin. You've probably all seen used one before. There's a clutch on this drill. So the bigger the number, the harder it is to stop it. So if I have it on 1 or 2, I can grab that and stop it from moving. That prevents you from over tightening in whatever you're putting the screw in. And if I put this all the way up to 18, I have a hard time stopping that when I turn on it. I don't think that I could stop it. You also got 2 speeds, a 2, which is fast, and a 1, which is slow. The faster the drill goes, the less power it has. So if you're trying to do a lot of hard work, make sure it's on 1. I would put it in 1 if you're using it to put your face frames together. Now we also have another kind of drill called an impact driver. Now this has a unique tip. It doesn't really have a chuck like that one does. And in order for this drill to work, it has to have this end on the drill bit. So you can buy drill bits of all different kinds, but they got to have this end on them. And then to get it in the drill, you just set it in, And some of them you can just push it in, and some of them you have to slide this collar up and then it drops in, and now it's held in place. To get this out, you just take it out. These long tips are what we need to put the face frame screws in, and you're going to find those in the door of the tool cabinet or in drills already. Now this drill is special because it is an impact driver, which means that there's a little hammer that punches the back of the drill bit, so that as you're putting your screw in, you don't have to push so hard on the drill. That one, you have to push quite hard on the drill to get it to go in. This one, you still have to push on it, but you don't need to levitate. You've got so much power on it. You can usually just use your arm strength and be okay with it. But there's a trick, and we'll talk about that trick. I'm going to grab 1.5 inch pocket screws. So on all of your table caddies, you've got 1.5 inch and you've got 1.25 inch pocket screws. We're going to use the longer pocket screws. Now, I caution you, I use this analogy a lot. Just because I slept in the garage last night, it doesn't make me a car. So just because the screw is in the 1.5 inch screw container doesn't magically make it an 1.5 inch screw. Somebody is very capable of putting the wrong length screw in the wrong bin. So just give it a quick check to make sure that it passes the eye test. It's not as important on here, but in some of the other steps, if we use the wrong length screw, it'll stick through our project. So please make sure that you use the right length screw. These screws are kind of unique in that they're self-tapping. So it looks like a regular screw, but one, it's got a very pointy end, and two, it's got a slice through the threads. So this acts like a drill bit and a screw all in one. The only problem with that is if we over tighten it, it creates a hole in our board that the threads can't connect to, and it just pulls right back out. So we don't want to over tighten these. All right, we're finally ready. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on here. So yeah, we can see that in the video. And then this lines up perfectly flush with the end of my board. Don't settle for good enough. Settle for it being absolutely amazing. And I take this clamp and I try to squeeze it to clamp it on. And if I can't squeeze it on, it means I need to lighten the screw here. So the screw loosens a little bit, and now when I squeeze hard, it locks in. So that's going to hold it in place while I'm putting the screws in. And then to get it apart, I just pull it apart. So I've got my screw here going in the hole. Now with this drill, you're going to hear a pitch change. That's one of your clues that it's tightened up. So it's going to start clicking here in a moment. And when those clicks get closer together, it means that your screw is tight. So be watching the head of the screw. You don't want to break the screws off. Did you hear at the very end it got a little closer together? This is a brand new one, so that one's got a lot of power. Your best indication is just to watch where the head of the screw is. As soon as that head of the screw makes a little bit of contact with the bottom of the pocket hole, stop turning it. With oak especially, if you overturn it, a lot of times you just snap the screw right off. And that can be a frustrating experience for people. Alrighty. Pea-sized drop of glue. There's 2 short screws in there. Clicks got closer together. And I'm going to do a couple with this drill so you can kind of see the difference in how they work. 2 pea-sized drops of glue. So a lot of times, the good Lord blessed me with girth. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but the Hollywood called and they wanted me to be Thor's body double in a lot of these new Marvel movies. But I said, I got all these kids that need me here. You know, I'm going to turn it down so I can be with you guys. So I'm excessively strong. I may look like I'm overweight, but it's actually an illusion. I'm a ripped dude. And so it doesn't take a whole lot of pushing on here for me to tighten these screws. I'm kidding. It takes pushing down by everybody. I don't care how big you are. You're going to need, I like to put my back of my hand on a drill here and give me a little bit of extra push down. And that tightened there. So it takes a little bit more time with one of these. I always suggest going on the 1 speed instead of the 2. But you can do it. There we go, that was tight. So now I made an E. We got to get the other side on. Got to put some glue on here. We got to do it beforehand. We can't do it one at a time now. I need to grab a couple more screws. And I like pushing down. So this is so strange. I'm doing this. Feels like backwards because I've never put one together like this before. But you guys are special. Start on one side. So this drives some people crazy. This is hanging over a little bit here. They try to get both sides perfect, and all we need to get is one side at a time. So I can kind of use, this was hanging over a little bit, I can just kind of tap on the handle there, and then move the face frame over. Get this in. Now if this doesn't line up just perfect, I can move it. You're all strong enough to kind of wiggle these back and forth there. So this one actually landed pretty good for me, so I'm in good shape here. And then watch this very last one. So if you've got any sort of a lip, like I got a little tiny lip there, I want to lean on this board when I clamp it so that this lines up good and straight. I really don't want to have this not be on. If you've ever seen the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson, he says aim small, miss small. So we're aiming for perfection. And if we're off a little bit, we can live with it. But don't settle for, that's good enough. Because you do that enough, and eventually you got a project that looks like a piece of modern art. And we're trying to avoid that. Modern art is great. We're just not making it here. And last screw. You hear how that battery's kind of dying? So the batteries do die. This is all of our drills are cordless. You could take them out by squeezing, and that cabinet up by my podium there, if you open that up about waist high, there's a whole bunch of chargers for different batteries. Just find a battery with the right charger and replace it. Please don't put dead batteries back up on the shelves there. It's frustrating for everyone. So last thing I would do with my beautiful face frame is I need to run it through the time saver. You'll probably have some, this probably won't be perfectly smooth here. We'll run it through the time saver, and here's the trick. The hinges that we use, this is a long ways in the future, but the hinges we use wrap around our face frame. Those hinges are only 3/4 of an inch wide. Our material comes almost 13/16 wide, so we need to start, there's passes written on the time saver, but we start at 840, and we go 830, 820, 810, all the way until we get to 750, because we need these to be exactly 3/4 of an inch thick for our doors to mount to this eventually. We all want doors that mount to our cabinet. So it takes a few passes, but grab a couple friends and do that at the same time, and we'll be in great shape. Any questions? No questions? Alrighty, let's get to work.
Does it matter? Maybe just help me get started to get to where we are right now.
$10.
What?
$10.
Huh?
For $10.
Do you want to stop recording? Because I had to